two. They're in the heat of the game, it's clear. He's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
Hot off the heels of Clash in Italy earlier this afternoon. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were able to join the PLE patrol for that. We are here. It is the Locker Room Breakdown. It is the Rasslin Recap. A look back at the week that has been in WWE. Mixed reviews, I know, on the PLE this afternoon. I personally thought it wasn't stellar, but it was still a very, very solid show, and it still beat night one of WrestleMania. But how did we get to Clash in Italy? Ladies and gentlemen, we had a lot of go-rounds between Raw and SmackDown, and it set up what happened earlier today. And ladies and gentlemen, did the landscape truly shift that much, or is it just the waiting game? I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the waiting game. I think it's the long game. I think we have to really now start building to SummerSlam. But before that, we do have Night of Champions coming up at the end of June and the King and Queen of the Ring. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Let's head back to last Monday night and kick off the week with everything that happened. We opened the show with Paul Heyman, who had a video from Brock Lesnar, who stated that he was humbled by Obafemi at WrestleMania, but vowed for vengeance, and more vengeance than Oba could ever imagine. And we will get into that a little bit later on. Paul Heyman claimed Obafemi awoke somebody new. He reawoke the beast inside Brock Lesnar, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Finn Balor had the demon awoke at WrestleMania, this is what we got. However, we are then interrupted by Obafemi, who came out, pushed Paul Heyman into the corner with some words of warning, even going so far as to state that at Clash in Italy, Oba was looking to kill Brock Lesnar. He then put the contract on Paul Heyman's chest before signing it and walking away. Oba did not strike his signature pose because you didn't know if Brock Lesnar was actually in the building or going to attack. Oba looking over his shoulder. I thought this added a nice, subtle touch to all of it. So, depending on the outcome of Brock Lesnar and Obafemi, where do we go from here? We then go to our Intercontinental Championship match. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Intercontinental Championship was on the line, and we have seen Penta do this. Penta truly showing that he is a fighting champion and wants to be a fighting champion. This all started the Raw after WrestleMania when Javon Evans told Penta, "I'm still coming for you and your title." That brought Ethan Page and Rusev right into the title picture. So, what was going to happen in this match? Well, a lot of high flying, a lot of flippy dippy BS. And I'm not a fan of the high flyers. I'm really not. Um, in the right spots, in the right moments, sure, but not all the time. And that is what Javon Evans brings. This match was back and forth. Javon looked for the OG cutter to start the match, but it was countered. It was countered, reversals, counter, reversal. This was a good technical match from Penta's standpoint, and I know he really, really carried this match. Javon got his licks in, though, and I was waiting. Were we going to see Ethan Page? Were we going to see Rusev get involved, causing a disqualification? Going back to seeing that tag team match yet again, I am thrilled to say, ladies and gentlemen, that we got absolutely none. We had no interference in this match. Even though Javon Evans did hit the OG cutter, at a point he was only able to get a 2 count. Eventually, even though he was countered out of it, even though Javon was able to counter the Mexican Destroyer at first, Penta was able to hit it, pick up the victory, and the 1, 2, 3. Penta went to shake Javon Evans' hand, and Javon pulled it away, shrugged him off, and walked away frustrated. We would see them come together a little later in a backstage segment. Is this the point where Javon Evans maybe would have turned had the New Day still been there, and with Kofi was trying to recruit him before their exit? I don't know if Javon is ready for the Intercontinental Championship. I know I've said by the end of the year, I do believe he will be, but I don't know if he is ready for it just yet. He needs to take a step back, learn how to pace himself, and slow himself down. Otherwise, he is going to wind up hurting himself or hurting somebody else. Backstage, we see Austin Theory talking with Paul Heyman because Logan Paul is out, ladies and gentlemen. He tore his tricep at Saturday night's main event. So Austin Theory didn't know what to do with his half of the tag team titles. Paul Heyman told him, you know what? I've had it written into every member of the Vision's contract that the Vision can use the Freebird rule. So any 2 members can defend at any time, and Braun Breaker would be Theory's tag team partner. Theory then made a vow that everybody who was involved in the injury of Logan Paul would be taken out. This really intrigues me because we know what Austin Theory is capable of. Now the fact that he's put himself on a mercenary mission, and I get wanting to help your friend, help your partner, keep the titles in the Vision, great on Paul, but is Theory painting himself into a corner that Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker can't get him out of? Does this mean we are going to see Bronson Reed returning soon, and then we could have Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed defend those tag titles? Again, ladies and gentlemen, very, very intriguing. We saw what Theory could do as a mercenary when he was the masked man under the black hood before he revealed himself. So very, very intriguing. What could we do? We had Joe Hendry in the ring singing along to his song of Paul, Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? And he was attacked, laid out by Austin Theory with a steel chair. And then gets Hendry tied up in the ropes and hits him again with a chair shot to the head as he was caught up. Again, we go backstage. Yes, Monday night was full of a lot of backstage segments and backstage interactions, limiting the in-ring time. But, ladies and gentlemen, this worked well for this past Monday. And we saw Seth Rollins trying to talk to the Street Profits and encouraging Angelo Dawkins to work together to take out the Vision while they're at their weakest. And yeah, you're down to two men. Again, the Vision for the last little while have not been at full strength. Yes, you got Braun Breaker back, you lose Logan Paul. Just before that, you've lost Bronson Reed, and we don't know when Bronson's coming back. But I digress. We had some speculation, and we're sort of wondering now, is it about time to bring Bronson Reed back? As Seth Rollins is talking to Angelo Dawkins, who was open to the idea, Montez Ford interrupts. And this ended up getting made into a match for Monday Night Raw. Very, very intriguing because we know that both of those men could have been just as involved in the injury to Logan Paul. Would Theory come out, make his presence felt? We'll find out. But we move on to women's tag action as Bayley and Lyra, who are trying to get themselves back into the women's tag team championship picture, took on the Judgment Day's Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. I said it last week, ladies and gentlemen, these Judgment Day rivalries tend to run a little bit long. And I'm all for Roxanne Perez and Lyra Valkyria being in the ring against each other. And this, I know, was not a rivalry match, but still, could you not have found somebody better? Where do we go from here, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, Bayley and Lyra were involved, have been involved since the inception of the Judgment Day, essentially. And I just don't need it anymore. We need finality on these things with the Judgment Day. Before the match started, Roxanne and Raquel did jump the bell. They attacked Lyra and Bayley. Who were able to turn things around momentarily. But once Raquel hits that crossbody and she is able to put all of her power, all of her size, and all of her weight behind it, it's pretty much lights out. And we got the control from the Judgment Day. as they dominated. They controlled, they dominated, they owned Lyra Valkyria. She was essentially their bitch in the ring. Of course, typical tag match, you're able to get to the hot tag as we all wait. Liv Morgan, of course, at ringside with her girls in the Judgment Day, but she got ejected. Dom attempted to interfere, and he should have been worrying about his buddy JD. He tried to slide the Intercontinental Championship into the ring to Roxanne Perez. Which ensued in a tug of war, and unfortunately, as I can't remember if it was Bayley or Lyra let go, Roxanne ended up drilling Dom with the Intercontinental Championship. Sorry, it would have been the AAA Mega Championship, not the Intercontinental. I apologize. That's just my info gave me the wrong belt. And Bayley able to do the roll up and get the pin. Can we get away from these roll up pins for a while, ladies and gentlemen? Can we get the pins off of the proper finish? Off of somebody's finisher? I would rather have seen a Rose Plant or a Bayley to belly to pin Roxanne as opposed to just a schoolgirl roll up. Does this move Bayley and Lyra up in the tag team division? Does it get them a shot at Paige and Brie Bella for the women's tag team championships? Again, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I can only hope, but we will find out a little bit more tomorrow night. Up next, we hear from a man who we haven't heard from since WrestleMania. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. L.A. Knight. Yeah. He came out and addressed the start of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, which will begin tomorrow night. I don't have the brackets in front of me. I am hoping to find them when we preview Monday Night Raw. And he said he was going to throw his name into the ring for that one. And that saying that he would immediately target Roman Reigns if he won the King of the Ring tournament. Smart move on LA Knight's part or no? Would he be better to win the King of the Ring and potentially go and challenge Cody? But LA Knight to win the King of the Ring, could this be that breakthrough moment for him? The one that we have all been waiting on. And if you look at it from a medieval point, you have King Knight. So he is not afraid to go to war with anybody. And although he was born and raised in Maryland, we all know that he lives in L.A. So, of course, you have the L.A. King tie-in. But by saying that he was going to target Roman Reigns, where does that leave him with Jimmy and Jey Uso? Well, Jimmy answered that. And he said, you're lucky Jay's not here. You're lucky the Yeet Man's not here tonight. But he said he has a lot of respect for LA Knight and claimed that if he wins the King of the Ring, he will get a fair one-on-one match with Roman Reigns. Looking back, LA Knight called out the fact that it seems as though the bloodline is reuniting, which is somewhat true, and I understand because we've been seeing it as fans. I know it's not something that we're all necessarily excited about, but I am intrigued to see where it goes if they do fully reunite the bloodline. But LA Knight suggested that once again, Jimmy is becoming the tribal chief's errand boy. Again, very valid point. Jimmy then said, well, you want to make our business yours? Then let's do it. LA Knight scoffed and said, you know what? I will put your family business out of business if you're not careful. We did see then backstage Penta and Rey Mysterio come across each other and they talked. They had a friendly exchange with Penta offering Rey a chance at the Intercontinental Championship. Rusev took exception to this and asked Adam Pearce to make a match between him and Rey last Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue on with the review or the review of Monday Night Raw here in just a moment, but we can use your help.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. If you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, or to help us out behind the scenes, hit the join button. Email us your credentials. Tell us how you believe you can help us, how you feel we can help you, and we will sit down as a collective and find the right fit. All of that and more at turnbucklestudios.org. So, ladies and gentlemen, on to our next match of the night. Montez Ford and Seth Rollins in what was an instant classic. You're welcome, Christian Cage. I gave you the shout out. That's right. An instant classic. Both of these men have tag team specialists. Both of these men can absolutely deliver in the singles. This was a result of earlier in the night when we had that confrontation and Montez Ford said, no, I'm not going to do it. Or I'm not going to team with you. Neither man able to get a consistent upper hand. This match was back and forth. This was technical. This was high flying. This was your match of the night. They countered. They reversed. You name it, they did it. After a pedigree, Rollins begged Ford, saying, you know what? Let's not do this, man. Let's join forces. Let's align. We can do this together. After that, we can go our separate ways. And Montez Ford just slapped him in the mouth. Well, Montez Ford ate 2 buckle bombs then and got sent to the floor. He was, of course, able to come over the top rope, hit his suicide dive, somersault plancha, whatever you want to call it, but could not keep Seth down. After attempting a 450 splash and missing, Rollins hit the stomp and picked up the victory and even went to go and shake his hand. But we did get our Austin Theory appearance because Angelo Dawkins was in there as well. Anthony, thank you. Good to see you. Much appreciated. Glad you're here. I am doing very well. I'm just talking Monday Night Raw from last week, and we're going to preview tomorrow night in just a little while. Theory, again, with that chair, continuing on his mercenary mission, able to lay Angelo Dawkins out and even using a concerto on the floor. Wow. I wasn't sure about Austin Theory as a mercenary, but I'm really, really starting to dig what he was putting down. Backstage, we see Montez Ford talking with Adam Pearce and Seth Rollins coming out and asking, is Dawkins okay? Is he good? And Montez Ford looked at him and said, you know what? You're right. We got to work together. So, was that match a one-off for the greater good? Or do we see the Street Profits potentially turn on Seth Rollins? It's going to be very, very intriguing for sure. We don't even know what's going to play out here tomorrow night, but we did see both men go into the trainer's room to check on Angelo Dawkins. Now we move on to the Bulgarian Brute versus the biggest little man in WWE, Rey Mysterio Jr. We did have Ethan Page on commentary for this match. And again, I was worried, are we going to see the usual, somebody get thrown into him? Are we going to have the interference? Is this just what it's going to be? We got none of that, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the lack of interference, I am digging it. Rusev able to, of course, control the action using his size, his speed, his power, and his agility. The winner, of course, was going to get an Intercontinental Championship match tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. Mysterio started to come back, but Rusev able to cut it off and just control the match, even catching a 619. Somehow, though, the biggest little man able to hit a roll-up. Again, can we get away from the roll-ups, please, and have these matches ended by a proper finisher? In the right moment, a roll-up is fine, but not in a match for the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. Rusev did attempt to attack Rey afterwards, but we got the return of Dragon Lee, who came out to make the save. And again, really? Rey Mysterio is your AAA general manager. He is a Hall of Famer, and he has done this. Why does he need everybody else coming out to save him and fight his battles? This is not something I'm excited to see, leading me to believe we are going to get a tag team match tomorrow night. And again, it's a tag match I don't really want or need to see. And lastly, to finish off Raw, We had a contract signing for a match that didn't need a contract. Make it make sense, people. Please make it make sense. Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu does not need a contract. The last time we'd seen Tribal Combat, Jey Uso versus Roman, and Jey said, I don't need a contract. This is Tribal Combat. So, what in the hell are we doing? Again, ladies and gentlemen, they've jumped all over the place on this. Jacob, of course, came out first, and before he even took the mic, he signed the contract. And then proceeded to toss the chairs and the table before Roman Reigns even made his entrance. Roman then did make his entrance, signed the contract, and ordered Adam Pearce and the security to leave them. Because in Tribal Combat before this, there is no physicality, there is no contract. We knew that the title was on the line, and if Jacob lost, he would have to acknowledge Roman Reigns. Fatu admitted that Roman and the bloodline are the reason that the family is living as well as it is, but questioned whether Roman would do things honorably, meaning would Jimmy and Jey get involved? Would it be the bloodline versus Jacob Fatu? Even reminding Roman that he used an exposed turnbuckle at Backlash to get the pin. Otherwise, he would not have kept him down. Reigns said, I will acknowledge you if you beat me, but when I win, you will serve me. And then they shook hands, forehead to forehead, the sign of respect. This, ladies and gentlemen, after all of the physicality that has gone on since Backlash with these two men, and this is how it ends? Ladies and gentlemen, that was Monday Night Raw last week. Coming up tomorrow night, we'll find out here in just a few minutes. But first, take a look at our shop.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And while you're there, please check out our shop powered by Redbubble. So it is 100% safe and secure. Support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. Wear what we wear. And ladies and gentlemen, all of those proceeds come back into our studios to bring you a better experience. While you're there, tag us. Take a picture of what you bought. Tag us in a picture. Send it to us, and we will give you a shout out live on air. All of that and more at turnbucklestudios.org. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Monday Night Raw comes to us at 2 p.m. Eastern from the Napoli Arena in Turin, Italy. And we are going to get started with the King of the Ring tournament with a fatal four-way match. As we are going to see Penta taking on Obafemi, taking on Solo Sikoa, taking on Carmelo Hayes. This is really weird because I thought Penta was defending the Intercontinental Championship against Ray tomorrow. But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, unless Penta is going to pull double duty or they're going to replace Penta in that match. Where do I put this match? I don't know. I am going to go with a bit of a surprise, though. I'm not going to put Obafemi in to win. I think Oba is going to be somewhere on the outside when the pin takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, for my money, you've already made them the faction to beat on SmackDown. Give me Solo Sikoa to pick up the victory here tomorrow night. As well, we are going to hear from Roman Reigns. What is he going to have to say? Will Jacob Fatu acknowledge him, or does Jacob move back to SmackDown? We're going to hear from Jimmy and Jey Uso. I'm sure we're going to hear from the entire bloodline as a collective. We're going to hear from Seth Rollins. What does he have to say? What does Montez Ford have to say? Do we see them team up to take on Braun Breaker and Austin Theory tomorrow? I don't know. I'm sure we're going to hear from The Vision as well. Coming off of Clash in Italy, we will hear from our Women's Intercontinental Champion, whether it was Becky Lynch or Sol Ruca, which we will cover in just a little while. I'm sure we're going to hear from our Women's Tag Team Champions as well. Are we going to see that match of them versus Bayley and Lyra? Let it be so that they can actually get their title shot. What do we hear from the Judgment Day? What do we have in store in the Women's Queen of the Ring tournament? Ladies and gentlemen, all of this and more to be announced. Plus, to my understanding, we will see the return to Monday Night Raw of Chad Gable. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Chad Gable to return to Raw apparently tomorrow. I don't know. We will have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, we do ask that you tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for the Raw Patrol right here at Turnbuckle Studios. Speaking of the Raw Patrol, ladies and gentlemen, you can check that out along with all of our other programming for you here throughout the week at turnbucklestudios.org.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, The Locker Room presents Rasslin Recap Delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day, and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And there you have it, all of our weekly programming, including our special events. And what better way to get acclimated when you join than by checking out the host section at turnbucklestudios.org, where you can meet myself, Chris Best, Chris Parrish, Bubba Duke, Logan Thompson, and the Godfather, Carl Carafel. Click on our individual links to get all of our socials and watch our latest weekly live episodic programming. All of that and more at turnbucklestudios.org. Ladies and gentlemen, on to SmackDown. And how would that shape Clash in Italy? We kick things off with Jade Cargill, who's coming out to talk up her match against Rhea Ripley and about how she is still that bitch. Well, this brings out Rhea Ripley. Yes, it brings out Rhea Ripley. It also brought out Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, who have been finding common ground with the champ. So Nick Aldis booked us a match right off the hop with Alexa Bliss. 5 Feet of Fury taking on Jade Cargill. Why is it always Alexa Bliss the one to suffer? She is far too talented, far too good to have to suffer like this. Can we go back and please, once again, get the goddess Alexa Bliss? Because that is where she seems to be having success. I know that since she returned at the Royal Rumble 2025, she has had a hard luck year and a half, and I need more for Alexa Bliss. So, really no surprise here that Jade won and really dominated the match, using her power to stop Alexa from building any momentum. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, to say that Alexa Bliss looked good in defeat. No, because again, she is not getting the credibility. She is not getting what she deserves. She is Alexa Bliss, and we need her successful. It would add that element. So yes, can we please get the goddess Alexa Bliss back? Jade did win by picking up or hitting Jaded on her, getting the pin, and then still proceeded to hit another one on Alexa Bliss on a steel chair. Not really needed. The only thing that really stood out to me in this match was that Jade came out with blonde hair instead of her usual silver hair, but it didn't do anything. It wasn't an effect on the match. It was just an appearance effect, so to speak. As we continue on, ladies and gentlemen, the most must-see superstar in the WWE, The Miz, took on Axiom. He tried to get out of the match by saying that Kit Wilson's not here and he needs to be here to see this up close. He needs to watch what I do. Axiom was returning home to Spain. However, before we get to the match, we saw a backstage confrontation with Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn, and Sami wanting an apology for Rhodes hitting him with the crossroads after he helped take care of Gunther. Cody saying, dude, it's a match. It's fair game. Cody can win off of his finisher. Why can't anybody else? This match, ladies and gentlemen, can we get some finality with The Miz and Danhausen? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, although he was not at ringside, did not get involved, Danhausen played an incredible factor in this match. Lights flickering in the arena. As The Miz went to the top rope, the lights went out and came back on, leaving The Miz. What's going on here? For Axiom to hit the Spanish Fly and pick up the victory. Can we get the finality on The Miz and Danhausen, please? Please, I beg of you, WWE. I love both, but this is now just going too far and too long. Now, because Danhausen's equipment was held up at customs, Nick Aldis had told him he wanted him to appear in front of the crowd like he was paid for. Danhausen ran off and started building something. And the commentary even claimed that Kit Wilson was detained at customs for traveling with too much moisturizer. You can never have too much moisturizer, ladies and gentlemen. It gives your skin that healthy glow. On to a very, very interesting tag match that came about in a rather comedic way. We had R-Truth talking with Damian Priest, and Truth was still not cleared, but he got the match made with Damian Priest and Royce Keys taking on the MFT. Specifically, Tama and Tala Tonga. Truth told Priest, look, do you have an issue with him? No. Asked Royce Keys, do you have an issue with him? No. Good. Then let's do the match. Of course, Solo Sikoa in the ring. At ringside for the MFTs. This was a decent, solid tag team matchup, putting two guys from similar backgrounds, not the same area, but similar backgrounds, growing up in the streets, fighting for scraps, fighting for survival against brothers. Who would have the edge? Would it be the background versus the brothers? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, this was, like I said, a solid match. It was decent, but it's something we have seen all too often. Royce Keys was actually the guy taking the beatdown instead of Damian Priest, who was the guy who received the hot tag, and I think that it should have been the other way around. It was an attack, a sneak attack behind the ref's back that caused Priest and Keys to lose. Solo hitting the spike and allowing Talatonga to pick up that choke slam for the win. Again, you're going to a choke slam versus the sit-out choke slam of Damian Priest, called the South of Heaven. Why do we need two guys with the same finisher in the match? We know that it's going to get to a tag match eventually, in which two members of the MFTs will carry those belts. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, but creative needs to do a little bit better as far as this goes. We did see, again, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley talking backstage, telling them that they both wanted a piece of Jade after what happened to Alexa. And I can understand that, and we will cover that in just a little while. Again, backstage, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this week, I mentioned it on Raw, SmackDown was heavy backstage. We saw Sami Zayn talking to a lethargic Johnny Gargano. Again, why? Sammy, if you want him for your partner, wake him up already. Even if it means you have to haluva kick him in the back, wake him up, get him out there. But Matt Cardona came and interrupted that conversation, which led to a verbal altercation with them yelling. Matt Cardona even going so far as to say, yes, we are friends, but that doesn't give you the right to act like a whiny, you know what, never mind. Which led to a match. Sami Zayn and Matt Cardona. This was a great, great match. We need something more from both of these men. Cardona even acknowledged it, saying, you know what, I've been back for 5 months and things haven't gone my way. I'm not where I want to be, but he brought the match. And again, this was back and forth, with Cardona even hitting, as it's now known, radio silence, formerly known as the Rough Rider, but Sammy able to kick out and pick up the victory off of the haluva kick. Why is it on SmackDown they're allowed to win with their finisher as opposed to a roll-up? Make it make sense between Raw and SmackDown. The part here now that leaves me really, really scratching my head. Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green. We know they have had history going back to when Tiffany won Money in the Bank by pushing Chelsea off the ladder through a couple of tables. But we'll get to that again a little bit later. To what, again, should have been the match of the night. And something just didn't live up. Carmelo Hayes versus Ricky Saints in a rematch from 2 weeks ago, where Ricky tried to steal the victory with his foot on the ropes and Melo did it with his feet on the ropes. This started with a Trick Williams promo and Trick saying, yeah, I'm putting my hat into the King of the Ring, because who better than the man with the yellow pepper steppers? Or the lemon pepper steppers. Sorry, not the yellow. This match, and I know it's something that we've all been waiting to see, something we've maybe needed, but a double count out between Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes. As long as we don't go to the best of 7, I'm okay with this victory. With this match, but both men getting the double count out. So no winner, no loser. With then Mello hitting the first 48 to walk away looking more of a victor, and Ricky Saints laid out. This match should have been better than it was, but a solid match nonetheless. On to perhaps the most awkward match of the night, as we had Chelsea Green versus Nia Jax. And this match came about as a result of the previous week when Lash Legend decided to challenge Tiffany the night before for the Women's US Championship. And Chelsea pushed Nia into the ring post, causing a distraction and allowing Tiffy to pick up the victory. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I love Chelsea. I'm a big fan of Nia now. She has grown so much as a competitor and as an entertainer. This was Chelsea trying to recruit Tiffy to come out into her corner, but Tiff wasn't interested. And I wonder, are we building to a Chelsea Green versus Tiffany for the US Championship match, or what? However, a little later on, Tiffy ran into Nash and Laya, and did it flip the script? Well, for her first match in 4 months, Chelsea looked good. She was returning to the ring for the first time since February due to an ankle injury and then heart surgery. Nia just looked absolutely dominant. Nia looked like the Samoan monster that she is. However, Tiffany provided a distraction when her music hit and everybody was watching, and she was able to sneak in from behind and knock Nia off the rope, going for the Annihilator, allowing Chelsea to hit the roll-up. Yep, another roll-up, ladies and gentlemen, and pick up the victory. Again, what are we doing with Chelsea and Tiffany? Are we going to go to that match? Are we going to get somebody maybe a little more, I don't want to use the term worthy, but a little more ready for that Women's US Championship? And then we hear in the final segment from Cody and Gunther ahead of their championship match this afternoon at Clash in Italy. This was a masterclass in promos, and I don't know if Cody Rhodes has been taking lessons from CM Punk and Paul Heyman or what, but this was absolutely beautiful. Gunther saying, all you've ever had to do is make one phone call. When you left WWE, when you came back, it was one phone call. Cody called Gunther a liar, saying, yeah, you've built yourself into this, dropping from the 330-pound guy you were to the shape you're in now. But you could have made that one phone call as well. This was very, very intriguing, and what would happen at Clash in Italy. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break down what happened earlier today at Clash in Italy. But once again, I want you to take a look at both our Help Wanted and our shop ads.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle affiliation program. All the information on how to join us is there. Hit the join button, email us your creds, tell us how to help, how you can help us, how we can help you. We will sit down as a collective and find the right fit. While you're there, head over to our shop, support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. Tag us with whatever you've purchased, and we will give you a shout out live on air. All of that and more. Turnbucklestudios.org. Clash in Italy. Not a spectacular show, but it still beat WrestleMania Night 1. Started off with Cody and Gunther to open the show in a match that had a dusty finish. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, are we looking long term? I know a lot of us here had Gunther pegged as walking out as your new undisputed WWE champion, myself included. This match was back and forth, counter for counter, hold for hold, technical ability for technical ability. It was the Cody Cutter followed by a crossroads, but Gunther's foot was under the rope and the ref was not in position. And even Gunther then claimed his arm was under the rope. Again, the ref not in position as Cody picks up the 1, 2, 3 and the victory. This is where I think we should have had a Sami Zayn come out or another ref, or go to the tape. Let that replay show so that you can see that the pin should not have counted. This was perhaps the worst call on the night and the worst decision. Again, though, solid match. Match number 2. Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill for the Women's Undisputed Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, may I give to you my match of the day. That's right, Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. We have talked leaps and bounds of Jade Cargill's improvement in the ring. She had her best match ever at WrestleMania, and this was just as good. Did it maybe get a little bit overbooked at the finish? I don't think so. Rhea had hit the riptide. B-Fab and Michin were in the ring, or at ringside and reaching in to try and pull Jade's foot to the rope, which they did. Even though the ref caught them, they weren't ejected, causing Rhea to roll out. And they were both backing up. But as they did, Rhea does this, and there's Charlotte from behind on the barricade hitting the crossbody. But this allowed Jade to hit Jaded in the ring and go for the pin attempt on Rhea, where Charlotte grabbed Rhea's foot and put it on the ropes to prevent the 3 count. This again led to a little more back and forth. It took a couple more headbutts from Rhea Ripley before she was able to hit the Riptide and pick up the victory. This, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, was probably the match of the night. This was absolutely incredible. Jade Cargill, continue doing what you're doing, my dear, because you're starting to really, really kill it and keep showing us why you are that bitch. But with that loss, does this move make a move for Jade to Raw a little more feasible? We know she said that Fridays are hard because that's family time for her family. She's missed out on so much wrestling on SmackDown. I hope so. It opens up a new list of challengers, and if you move B-Fab and Michin with her, then you can move Bayley and Lyra over to SmackDown. Do you go to a situation of having Jade feud with the Judgment Day? And are we going to build to a Charlotte versus Jade at some point? You'd have to think so. And I guess we will find out. Because I forgot to preview SmackDown, so we were going to have to do that right after this. Third match of the night, the shortest match of the night, but still, ladies and gentlemen, this was big, meaty men slapping meat. Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. This match started off quick. Brock Lesnar hitting 3 F5s right out of the gate, and Oba able to kick out. This then proceeded to a little bit of Brock went for the Kimura lock, and Oba was able to power out of that and even slam Brock Lesnar. The match spilled to the outside, where Brock put Oba through a table with an F5 for number 4. And at the count of 8, Oba just stood up. That's right. The match should have been over, but Oba just stood up, got back in the ring, started to take a little bit of control, and then we got back to it. Brock Lesnar hitting a couple more F5s. In total, Brock Lesnar hit 7 F5s to pick up the victory. This was something that I felt they probably should have done at WrestleMania. You could have saved the loss for Brock for either Backlash or for tonight. I know they've done reverse of what I've got. Oba still looked absolutely incredible and still looked incredibly dominant. So, what's next for Obafemi? We know he's going to be in the King of the Ring tournament tomorrow. From there, we have to see what happens. On to our Women's Intercontinental Championship with the woman who uses the Intercontinental Championship as a prop more for her aesthetic in Becky Lynch, taking on the newcomer Sol Ruca, who really didn't need to be in this position, as she has yet to actually earn the title match. She was given the title match because of Becky Lynch pulling the ref into the path of the Soul Snatcher last Saturday at Saturday night's main event. Sol Ruca hasn't done anything. She won one match via a DQ, but she hasn't done anything to truly earn the title match. Now, this was a back and forth match, and there were counters there. It was a good, solid Intercontinental Championship match. Was it the best match I've seen for that title? No, because it was an Elvira Valkyria Intercontinental Championship match. In the end, it was Sol Ruca able to hit the Soul Snatcher and pick up the victory. And I said it earlier today, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that Sol can have a better run with this title than what she was able to do with both the North American and Speed titles in NXT. Sol Ruca, for my money, is not there yet. I think that this was hot-shotted. I think that this was rushed. And I think you need to find somebody new to put it on outside of Becky Lynch if the run isn't going well. Whether that's an Io Sky, whether that's an AJ Lee, whether that's a Lyra Valkyria, a Bailey, somebody. There are so many deserving women on that roster. Stephanie Vaquer. Go to Roxanne Perez or Raquel Rodriguez with it as well. There are so many deserving women on that roster of the opportunity. It does not need to revolve around Becky Lynch. Our main event of the afternoon, Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. This match was better than it had any business being. I will give it that. If Roman loses, he's going to acknowledge Jacob. If Jacob loses, he has to follow and serve Roman. Is that a heel Roman? Or is this Jacob going to say, I quit? Does Jacob maybe go back to SmackDown to challenge a guy like Cody Rhodes? I was waiting for the bell jump on Jacob Fatu's part, which we did not get. In the end, it wound up being, well, we had a table. We had 3 exposed turnbuckles, though none of them really came into play. We had Jacob hit the moonsault. We had Roman hit countless Superman punches, knock Jacob down with stairs, even short arm clothesline him in the corner and wake Jacob up. And Jacob fought back. Both men were just as dominant, beating the hell out of each other. But in the end, Roman picked up the victory. And I said, if we get that, we need the finality out of this. And I hope that that is what we are going to actually get. If, ladies and gentlemen, by any stretch of the imagination, tomorrow we do get that Penta Rey Mysterio match and Penta gets pulled, could Jacob enter in Penta's place into the King of the Ring tournament and into that match for tomorrow? Then you've got Jacob, Solo, Oba, and Mello. In which case, you still give me Solo to win. But I think it makes it a lot more intriguing. After the match, the Usos got in the ring. Roman looked like he was going to go over and shake Jacob's hand. And instead, they sort of shrugged Jacob off. And they were headed back up the ramp. And Roman says, no, get him. So Jay was calling, begging Jacob, hurry up. Come on, man. If you were going to do that, I would have done the handshake and I would have had Jacob make the acknowledgement right then, right there, so that Jacob could go and do his own thing. That is how I think it should have gone. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow on Raw between Jacob and Roman Reigns. Ladies and gentlemen, one more look at our calendar and I will preview SmackDown for next week.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Rasslin Recap Delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. That is our calendar, everything we have for you here each and every night of the week. And we want you to meet the team behind those shows. Myself, Chris Best, Chris Parrish, Bubba Duke, Logan Thompson, and Carl Carafel. Go to the host section, click on each of our individual links to get our socials and watch our latest weekly live episodic programming. Ladies and gentlemen, they have not given us anything as far as a preview for tonight goes. Or for Friday night goes. We do know that there will be a King and Queen of the Ring tournament match. We just don't know who will be appearing in those. Mr. Best coming in saying, yes, I am tapped in. Yes, you are, buddy. You are tapped in. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We've got what will hopefully be another exciting week of WWE action beginning tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern with the Raw Patrol, where you can join Mr. Best, myself, and a host of other crazy characters. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you all the world is better with you in it. From all of us here at the Locker Room Breakdown and Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, I'm out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey, teams can't deny. His best friend is just a hand so true, loyal until his turn goes number 2. the heat of the game, it's clear. He's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a weekend of cheer.